So my name is Caleb Parker, and I'm the CEO of a brand called Bold, and we're opening up our first co-working and small meeting venue in Q1, 20,000 square feet in London. Today, we're going to be talking about technology in venues and how to remove friction and improve the customer experience. What we're not talking about is challenges around technology. Feel free to throw some of those questions up if you want. We're not talking about challenges. We're not talking about data protection and stuff like that. We're talking about the removing friction and improving the customer experience. So, a couple of questions that I'm going to throw out and maybe start the conversation is, what does the venue of the future look like when it comes to technology? What technology will be woven in to the heart of the venue to make life better for delegates and organizers? Will Wi-Fi be underwhelming, or will it be amazing? And we're going to talk about how venues are innovating right now and how they're looking at the future. So we have some great panelists up here. I'm going to start on the end here with Shaun. Shaun is from Manchester Convention Centre.
Manchester Central Convention Centre.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Manchester Central. And we have Kuldip from Exall.
Hi, everybody.
That was quick.
Yeah, Kuldip Sandhu. I'm the CIO, Head of Technology at the Exall Convention Centre. Thank you for inviting me to this.
Thank you. And of course, we have Gary Exall, who's from the director at Nova, and we can thank him for being our token Wi-Fi person up here today. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm gonna start off by talking about the word smart venue, and I'll just throw it out to everybody. What do you consider a smart venue?
What do you consider? Well, I think from a venue's perspective, certainly our perspective in Manchester, it's about enablement, because the organisers and the clients that we have coming in are looking for varying levels of capability. They're looking to achieve certain technical, milestones. And from a venue perspective, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to be the enabler. So that's all about infrastructure. So that's making sure that we've got the right connectivity in terms of bandwidth and depth of connections, those kind of things, to enable the organisers and clients to reach their own potential. So for us, we're running it. We've got 2 1-gig lines coming into the venue. We've got in excess of, I think, 65 access points scattered around the venue. Our main exhibition hall, we've just recently reconfigured with 20 access points. All very good, all very nice stats, but the main thing is, anywhere in the venue, you can get really deep, really reliable connectivity. So that's the first step, I think, from our perspective of being a smart venue. And look, for those of you that know Manchester Central, we're 180 years old, something like that. We were built in 1880, so we're not 180 years old, 140 years old. So we've got really challenging infrastructure, lots of steel, lots of iron, lots of brick, lots of concrete. But that doesn't matter. We've got to navigate all through that, and we've got to deploy the right level of connectivity. And I think we've done a pretty good job. But landscape's changing pretty quick.
Is Exall a smart venue?
Exall is on the path to becoming a smart venue.
What does that mean?
So I'll tap into Shaun's comment there. We believe that technology is an enabler for the business or the venue to become smart. So we are looking at technology at the infrastructure layer, at the office, and out in the front office in the venue. So we're on a path where we're refreshing the network infrastructure so that it gives us the connectivity that we need for our visitors, guests, organisers, and so forth. We're looking at refreshing and enabling our internal systems to be modernized, to give that digital enablement. And then in the venue, we've just upgraded to Wi-Fi 5. We've spent £250,000. We are on the path to go to Wi-Fi 6. We are making sure our 4G network works, and we're embarking on trials to go to 5G. We're looking at mobility, how we can get organisers and exhibitors to integrate with our potentially new venue app to capture the right level of data to personalize the delivery of services for, say, food and beverage, queue busting, We're looking at digital signage. We're looking at content management systems that allow us to publish the right media to the right audience, and so forth. So the journey continues. But our journey started by looking at what the customer wants. It wasn't about the technology. It was about what is the end-to-end visitor experience look like today and what it should be, then using technology to enable it.
And I'm going to stay on this topic just a little bit longer. Gary, what I appreciate about my former panel experience with you is that you put things in layman's terms. You say things that are very easy to understand. Not that you guys don't.
Simple ones coming on now.
But you're also not a venue, and you come with a different perspective. So what, in your view, what is a smart venue?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of touched on a lot of points there. Smart venue, you know, there's multiple angles from kind of being able to show, you know, digital content in real time, having the right connectivity across the venue to be able to support elements such as live streaming, event apps, you know, real-time kind of people tracking. It kind of it's bringing in lots of different technical features into a venue that can kind of give your customers real ROI. So a lot of it is based around making sure you have got the right connectivity in the venue. That's kind of the driving force behind most of these technologies, which is, you know, why you were discussing your kind of your network upgrades. But it's just the foundation of all these kind of amazing technologies. You know, from kind of tracking a delegate from when they come into the venue, where they spend their time, dwell times, from having real-time digital content on display throughout the venue. So yeah.
Good, excellent. Before we continue, can you raise your hand if you are a venue, if you're from a venue? Okay. And raise your hand if you're an event planner, organizer, events company. Excellent. And other? Cool. Okay, so I want to dive into some details because we're really talking about what are venues doing to improve the delegate experience or the organizer's experience. One of the things, I sat in on a session earlier today around the corner, and they talked about voice recognition and where that's going and how that will make things so much easier. For instance, when people come up and they ask these repetitive questions of the event staff, where to go, what session is it this time, where da-da-da-da, that can be done through a voice recognition feature. Is that something that you guys are looking at?
I'll have to say that we're not looking at it. We've got a great concierge team that sits on our front desk reception, and they get such good reviews. The idea actually is quite appealing of replacing them with like a chatbot, effectively, because you're right, they are answering the same questions all of the time. But no, that notion of the voice recognition element is not something we've looked at. I know we'll probably come on to talk about sort of facial recognition, expression recognition. That is something that we're kind of looking at. In terms of a sentiment analysis idea, but I think we've got a way to go before we could deploy something like that in a kind of acceptable environment. But it's really interesting. I mean, the concept simply being that there's technology watching you good people in the audience, and it is gauging whether on the sort of level of 1 to 10 or how bored you are by the people on the stage, which then gives us a kick up the bum to say, well, actually, you've got to be more interesting because you're losing the audience. And I've read about some of this stuff working, but I think to have it as a matter of course is, we're probably not quite there just yet. But certainly the technology's there for sure. We see it in sports, we see it all over the place. But whether we can deploy it in a conference exhibition arena effectively, I don't know. But it'll be something we'll look at for sure.
Okay.
Very, very similar answer. As I said, we're on the path to becoming that smart venue, but there's so much to do, front, middle, back office, and enabling all that volume of change is quite difficult because change management and introducing technology is not an easy thing. You need to get people bought in to understand the value and the benefits. So. And you need technology to mature. You know, if it's leading edge technology, does it work? Is it bug free? Does it allow you to give you the functionality you want? And the same, and there's other challenges with maybe not just voice recognition, but facial recognition, privacy. What does it mean from ethics, governance, and all that sort of stuff? So there's whilst we're on that innovation path, I can't see that coming mainstream for Exall in the immediate future, but certainly on the roadmap.
So,
Facial recognition, I think we're a long way from that being of any use to a smart venue. The problem you have with facial recognition is even now, passport control, you know the issues that you'll have when you've got to be directly in front of the camera, standing still with your feet on the perfect spot. If you imagine, facial recognition is being brought in to look at a number of things, understand your visitor's journey, your demographics, but you see 90% of people walking around an exhibition like this and they've got their head down looking at their phones, so the cameras can't pick up their face anyway. So there's a lot of flaws with facial recognition at the moment.
So you mentioned the word gimmickry earlier, a gimmick. I think you were talking a moment ago. Do you think the voice recognition or the facial recognition, do you think that's more of a gimmick and it's not going to go mainstream?
I think that the nature of events is we're always trying to pioneer new ideas, new technologies. You're trying to showcase things because in a conference or exhibition environment, you're always looking ahead, you're always looking to the future. So I think it's almost incumbent upon organizers to be really pushing this agenda to say, let's do it, let's try it. Now, whether it ever becomes mainstream, whether it ever has a commercial application, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe it's actually the fact that you're almost in a controlled environment whereby you can try it, and it's almost like a research project. But I think we'll see an interest in it being trialed. We'll see an interest in people talking about it happening. But whether it ever achieves that kind of mainstream, this is now de rigueur, as it were, in terms of every event, every exhibition, it's going to be a part of it. I agree. I don't think we're going to see that, but I get a sense of people wanting to try it just for the fun of it.
Yeah. Sorry. Facial recognition, on an exhibitor's stand where you're wanting to get analytics, where the camera's positioned in the perfect place to get the data that it needs, great. That's kind of a really good feature. But as a venue, to kind of, certainly a venue of your sizes, to have facial recognition working throughout the venue is, the stats for that, how accurate that will be very low, and therefore, is it really going to be worth the investment?
So
probably not.
I've heard of the police trialing facial recognition at Wembley as a trial. So those trials will be quite interesting in how they, maybe can capture hooligans and football fans and so forth. What we're really after is footfall, and there's technology out there. And I'm going to give Cisco a plug here. I've seen technology from Cisco that allows you to scan the heads of individuals, so you know the numbers of footfall. And we are using Ruckus technology for Wi-Fi, and they've got a tool called Spot, which again allows you to understand the density of devices, which you can equate to people, but not one-to-one. So there is technology that is definitely emerging and trials going on in other sectors that would be really beneficial for the events industry.
Kuldip, you guys were in the media recently because you've just made some significant investment in new technology. Can you talk about, more specifically about what you are using now that you're getting good customer feedback on? What is the new technology that you've invested in? Can you give some examples of how you've improved the customer experience?
So we just moved to Wi-Fi 5. So what that allows us customers is to experience a Wi-Fi experience which you can get 100,000 concurrent devices across the venue. So that's a real enhancement for us, and that allows us to seamlessly to move to Wi-Fi 6. And Wi-Fi 6 will allow us to give more efficiencies, And as Samsung and Huawei and other device providers come on board with Wi-Fi, with the latest technologies, and people start using that, it's that immersive experience in the venue, during the event, during your exhibition, with that connectivity. It's really, really important. I don't think Wi-Fi 6 is going to replace the cellular network provider connectivity either. I think the both will run in parallel. So that's one area of investment. And I'm going to talk about some internal investments which are quite interesting. So one of the things, I've been at Exall for a year, and I've been developing their technology strategy. We've tried to kind of link our back office with our front office operations in the venue, just in terms of collaboration and communication. So we've introduced Workplace. Do people know Workplace? Workplace is
Facebook.
the Facebook. It's the Facebook tool. And that is enhancing the collaboration and the communication between selling an event with an organizer to our frontline operations, and that communication. Not only just internal communication, but external within the venue. So that's another investment we've just done. Some other internal investments, we've got a brand new finance system that we're developing at the moment.
How is that helping the customer experience?
Yeah. So, if we can financially streamline costs and pricing models, that could have a financial impact to end users, customers.
Okay. Good.
So, and we have a whole street of other things coming. There's one of my vendors or professional services providers is here. We're talking to the external marketplace, looking at our network infrastructure. So if we can optimize our infrastructure, so better power, better cooling, scalable infrastructure, again, that will have a direct impact on connectivity and experience.
Can I just talking
Shaun?
about delegate experience, about applying technology? I think in my vision for where we would like to go with the smart venue, look, different events have different profiles, but when we have a lot of people coming, I don't know, for sort of more entertainment or leisure type events, you naturally get sort of bottlenecks, queues, you get these pinch points. Could be around washrooms, could be about coffee, could be about the bar. And you could envisage a time where your device knows where you are in the venue knows where you are. It senses that you're in a queue for coffee, for example, and will send you maybe a push message to say, actually, we see you're queuing for coffee. Did you know there's another coffee shop just 100 yards over here? The washroom that you're currently waiting in line for clearly is busy. There's another one just across the hall. So a sense of that kind of geolocation, looking at where the hotspots are, tracking movement through the venue, to give practical benefit and advice to delegates. I think that's a positive. Just today, actually, we've just launched a drinks ordering capability. So if you come to a banquet at our place and you're in the middle of the event, you're at the awards, you're watching what's going on stage, the table needs some more drinks. Rather than trying to get that organised by sending someone to the bar or waiting for a waiter, you can actually now do it from your own device, order it, and then we'll deliver it within a few minutes to you. So I think we're trying to look at ways as a venue that we can enhance the delegate experience so that organisers can tap into that.
Yes, I was going to say, Shaun's just touched on some really good points there about, being a real smart venue. I mean, some of those things are happening now in a hotel, for example. You can turn up, if you've booked your room through the app, as you walk into the hotel, the network detects your device. You don't have to go to check-in, so it says welcome, this is your room number. You use your mobile device to access, to get into your hotel room. You walk into your hotel room, it picks up all of your settings from your app, so it might know what music you like, what your favourite channel is, what room temperature you like, and it will make all of those adjustments over the network. That's a real smart venue, but I guess
the trouble with that is my kids use all of my logins for all my stuff, so I'm going to go in and the music I'm going to be played and the TV is perhaps not necessarily going to be what I might choose, but anyway, there you go.
Just give you another example of what we've been doing on enhancing that customer experience. I'm sure a lot of you have been to Exall, and as you come off the DLR on the west entrance, it was quite dull and boring. If you come to Exall since August, we've put in brand new AV, LCD screens. There's a living wall. There's new entrance pathway, so with new signage, just to enhance the visitor experience. And our Wi-Fi is now extending out so that you can authenticate as soon as you get off the DLR. Again, trying to enhance that visitor, guest, organizer experience.
So we have about 7 or 8 minutes left in the session. I want to turn to the screen here. We have some questions coming in from our participants here. So on this first question, I'll just open it up to anyone, but should the venues be the initiator, the executioner, and owner of the tech, or should that be a supplier coming in?
Our approach is we're the enabler, and then we'll work with specialists to deliver the particular application that the client, the organizer, is trying to achieve. It's too complicated for us to keep, if you like, up to pace with what's happening in the tech sector. I'd much rather work with experts, but they need to have the confidence that we can meet their expectations. So for me, enabler.
Enabler too, but I do believe that you need an internal IT function that is pretty savvy. So you need to know what your requirements are, you need to know what you're looking for, and you need to be able to ask the right questions of the external market and the specialists. And then you bring in the specialists with that technology experience and enablement to make it happen.
As a supplier, I'm obviously going to say you should be bringing in, the specialists. The thing that I find is you'll go into a hotel, and the hotel's internal corporate IT team have installed the network into the event space. They really have no idea about how an event truly runs. So that Wi-Fi network might be set up for kind of general browsing, general usage, just like the rest of the hotel is. But you have 10,000 delegates all turning up, registration, downloading their app, and the whole thing falls over. And that's where a lot of these venues fall down when they're planning, they're deploying their network across the whole venue as if everything should be operating the same, but they should be treating the event space as an event space. Therefore, it should be set up and configured differently. That's why you need a specialist.
So you touched on, Kuldip, you touched on Wi-Fi 5 earlier. There's a question about 5G, and of course we've got our token Wi-Fi professional here. So what's the difference between Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 4? And then anybody here? And then how is 5G going to affect Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi 6 is the latest.
I didn't
standard.
say Wi-Fi 6. I said 5. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I was just I kind of wrote something recently about Wi-Fi 6, and it's what impacts is it going to have on events? And at the moment, I don't think it's going to have any impact. The issue is, yes, it can maybe it will kind of operate at speeds of up to 10 gig, but we all know, unless you're a venue the size of Exall or Manchester, that most events, 90% of the events, won't have the capacity, the bandwidth for the internal network infrastructure to support that. Then there's obviously the visitors' devices that also won't support Wi-Fi 6. So we're a long way from that being kind of a major player, but obviously a lot of people talking about 5G. 5G, what that's going to do is it's going to kind of enhance a visitor's experience, because it means they don't necessarily need to connect to the network, but a venue still needs to provide the right infrastructure for your clients, because you can't have a client that's coming into your venue that wants to do a live stream for a new product out to 500,000 people around the world, and actually it's relying on a 5G connection that falls over. You can't pick up the phone to Vodafone and say, we're in the middle of a live stream, network's just gone down, any chance you can help? So the venues always need to have the right infrastructure in place.
So with the proliferation of 5G, will that enable IoT or is the Wi-Fi network still going to be needed for the IoT?
Yeah, absolutely. And IoT is all based around kind of the user. But a lot of these venues, they need to make sure that they've got the right infrastructure and capacity to support the functionality behind the event, the production elements, the live stream, the registration, if they've got a conference app that's being used. So it's not so much necessarily always about the visitor being able to connect, but 5G will enhance the visitor's experience, yeah.
Shaun, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say at Manchester, we've got ambition around smart city. We're trying to embrace 5G on a citywide level, which goes to your point about tourism and visitor experience. We need to ensure that when they come into the venue, because they're a business tourist, that same experience they may have had outside can continue inside. And as I mentioned, we've got all sorts of steel and iron and concrete to get through. So we're investing in sort of internal 5G networks so that we can bring a seamless experience inside and out. And we're a city centre venue, so part of our proposition is about the city of Manchester as much as the venue itself. And so if we can join those two things together, that's good. So we'll how it will impact on our take-up of Wi-Fi, don't know. Will it stop us investing in Wi-Fi infrastructure? No, absolutely not. Will we invest more money in ensuring that 5G works inside the venue? Yes, absolutely we will.
They should both run simultaneously.
Yeah.
So just my quick take on it. We have a 2 gigabyte line and a 10 gigabyte line, and we're looking to expand that connectivity for our organisers and visitors. So the bandwidth is just increasing exponentially. And Moore's law, right? It's out there. So what that means is our clients, our organisers and exhibitors are asking for high speed, high bandwidth internet connectivity.
And what are they doing with that? Can you like dumb that down for me?
What that means is on a stand or a booth or an exhibitor, they want hardwired Ethernet access, a Ethernet cable to be plugged in so that they can either have their stream live or they have a wireless Wi-Fi hotspot within a certain range. So that means we need to ensure those high bandwidths for internet access, and we need to ensure that Wi-Fi is available with high density visitor numbers. That's why we've gone to Wi-Fi 6 to be ready for Wi-Fi 6. So we've gone to Wi-Fi 5 to get ready to go to Wi-Fi 6. It will come. Wi-Fi 6 is in kind of a trial period. The standard's now, developed, and the devices will come with it. Visitors and users will come with the devices for Wi-Fi 6.
And when that happens, how does that improve the experience? What is the difference? Not in speed, but what does that enable that we can't do today?
So, we as a community are pushing out video content all the time, and that requires significant bandwidth. And to be able to stream video content through IoT devices, laptops, mobiles, tablets, whatever, at an event will require equipment that's able to cope with that streaming. And that's what Wi-Fi, 5G and Wi-Fi 6 will allow. Effectively, it's the end user demand forcing the community.
Final word, we have a minute left. Anything else? Do you want to add to this?
I'm just looking at one of the questions there, and I think the question about IoT, which I know we've touched on, but I think that's where venues can really deliver the sort of smart experience to sort of take care of some of the basic stuff, so that delegates, visitors can concentrate on the reason that they're at the event in the first place. So that how to get a coffee, when to get a coffee, which restroom to go in, is the restroom in a clean condition, making sure all of those housekeeping matters are delivered dynamically to the delegate so the delegate can focus on what they want to be focusing on at the event. I think that's the job of the venue, just to make it a more enriching experience, rather than having to worry about, should I stand in that queue, should I stand in this queue, should I go and see if that toilet's, just the real basic stuff. I think that's where venues can improve the experience for delegates.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today, and please give our panelists a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.